As I said, Sam was a state trooper. He pulled over a little old lady, had a busted taillight. He goes up to the window and says, "Ma'am, you've got a broken taillight." And she says, "Trooper, I need to warn you, I have a concealed weapon permit. I have 6 guns in this car." Sam blinks. 6? Yeah, there's a Glock 26 under the passenger seat. That it did not fit under the driver's seat with the great big Colt 45 I have under there. I've got this really pretty little 38 special, the one with the 1.87-inch barrel. That's in my map pocket. I've got another one in the glove compartment. I've got this pretty little Beretta up here, and I've got a Derringer in my bra. And Sam says, "Ma'am, what the hell are you afraid of?" She said, "Nothing." Here's another one of my favorite stories. Sam is short, of course, for Samuel. Samuel lived in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. Jesus was wandering around Jerusalem one day, and he saw himself in the mirror. You probably didn't even know they had full-length mirrors back then, did you? Well, they did. Jesus sees himself in the mirror and says, "Jesus, do you need a new robe?" He goes off to the street of tailors. This is back when there'd be whole streets devoted to one industry. There'd be the street of tailors and the street of butchers and so on. And there's this little hole in the wall shop. It's Samuel the tailor. Jesus goes in and Samuel looks up from his sewing and said, "Jesus, you need a new robe." So Jesus says, "Yes, I do." Sam does some measurements, shows him the fabric, and says, "It'll be ready Tuesday." On Tuesday, Jesus shows up, tries on the robe, and as you can imagine, it fit divinely. How could it not? He says, "How much do I owe you?" Samuel gets this glint in his eye and says, "You do a lot of sermons, don't you?" I'll tell you what, at the end of each sermon, if you just go like this and say, "You probably noticed this beautiful robe. I got this at Samuel the tailor's on the street of tailors in Jerusalem." Jesus is in with this. A few months later, he's back in Jerusalem, and he wonders how Samuel the tailor is doing. So he goes down to the street of tailors. It's not the street of tailors anymore. It's the street of Samuel. The advertising has been so phenomenal. He's taken over the entire street. He's got 47 people weaving. He's got 93 people cutting and 17 sewing. He sees Jesus and he comes out and says, "We have made our fortune. We need to go into business. You do the advertising and I'll do the tailoring, and we'll call it Samuel and Jesus." And Jesus says, "Well, it kind of is my name recognition. How about Jesus and Samuel?" And they argued and they argued and they argued, and they finally agreed on Lord and Taylor. It's getting late. I'm gonna skip over a couple of these. In fact, this will be my last story. This is a true story. This is my story of the pun who came in from the cold. Peggy and I went to Dublin a couple of years ago. We spent a week in Dublin. We spent tons of money on food because we decided no fish and chips for us. we're going to eat right. This really great steakhouse. Jonathan, who happened to be from Boston, is our server. Big, huge guy. Not that it has nothing to do with it, but he's a big, huge guy. I ordered cauliflower soup as an appetizer, and Peggy ordered a savory tart that came with something white over it. And we both thought, until she tasted it, that it was like creme fraiche or something like that. It wasn't. It was poached eggs. Jonathan turns up and says, "How were your appetizers?" And I looked up at him and I said, "Soup of cauliflower, delicious. Eggs be all atrocious." This man drew himself up to his full height. "Out of my restaurant." And he was still chuckling 2 hours later when he poured us into the car. And I'm tired, and I've had a good time. As I say, working on my shyness. You've been a great audience. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Oh, wait. I'll tell you one more. Just one, I promise, just one. This small town in northern Maine. I don't know exactly how this happened, but they have a Catholic church, they've got a Baptist church, and they've got a synagogue. I never did find out how that happened. I should be talking into this because we're recording this. And the pastor and the priest and the rabbi used to get together every Tuesday evening and have dinner. They were pretty competitive. Well, it got a lot more competitive when the priest said, "I'm a better proselytizer than either one of you. I can proselytize anybody or anything." Well, this did not set well with the rabbi and the minister, and they got into a bit of an argument about it, and they finally agreed on a bet. Each of them would go out and try to proselytize a bear. The winner would get free dinners on the other two for a year. That was Tuesday. The next Tuesday, they're all in the hospital. The minister has great big flap of skin gone from his head. He's got cuts and bruises all over him. He's got one arm in traction, and his right shoulder has been dislocated. And he said, "I think I won. I went out and I found that bear, and I wrestled it uphill and downhill, and finally I got it to the lake, and I ducked it in the lake, and the Holy Spirit was upon that bear, and now he's singing bass in the choir." The priest is in just about the same shape, and he said, "I wrestled with that bear, and I wrestled with him. Finally, I sprinkled holy water on him. Now, he's a member of the church. He's thinking of taking holy orders." The rabbi is lying there in a bed. He's all arms and legs in traction. His face about half torn up. He's got tubes running into him, tubes running out of him. He's got a saline drip. He's got a pain drip. He's got blood and plasma running into him. And he says, "You know, in retrospect, I probably should not have started with the ritual circumcision." Thank you all.
Make sure Lucy gets the bag.
Oh, Lucy! of my dearest friends. We met when we were in the cast of Sylvia,
Yes.
what, 10, 12 years ago?
About 10 years ago.
10 years ago. And she and I were two of the three lead characters. We had the absolute best time. She put up with my singing. When they have musicals, I go and try out for the musical, and they give me $20 to go away. That's how bad my singing is. Lucy teaches singing, and she says, I'm not even going to try, because it's like teaching a pig to sing. It wastes your time and annoys the pig. But Lucy is my dear, dear friend, and I am humbled that she agreed to be a part of this presentation tonight.
She's great.
Thank you all. I enjoyed it.
Yay.